Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zagreb. Signore e signori, benvenuti a Zagabria. Mademoiselle et Monsieur, bienvenue à Zagreb. Meine Damen und Herren, herzlich willkommen in Zagreb. I ono što mi je posebno drago i na što sam posebno ponosan, poštovane dame i gospodo, dobrodošli u Zagreb na sveučilište Algebra Bernay na prvu europsku radionicu o Cyber Resilience Actu, odnosno o aktu o kibernetičkoj otpornosti. We will carry on with all the sessions in English owing to the international fashion of the event. My name is Bruno Banelli, and you will be seeing me in various capacities today. I will be your host for the first part of the session, but before we begin, I would like to extend several gratitudes to all the people and organization that made this particular event possible. This is without any particular order. CyberStand, stand for CR, European Commission, European standard organizations being ETSI, CEN, and CEN-CENELEC, and of course our today's host, Algebra Bernay University. I would also like to remind you that all the presentations shall be uploaded on the CyberStand EU website and Stand for CR website, so you will be able to review them afterwards. For this initial session, we will kick off with several topics. So we will make the introduction to the CRA and we will explain the roles of European organizations. For that purpose, we have several people that will help us with there. First of all, that is Felipe Jones Mourão from European Commission. He is a policy officer of DG Connect. Then Lucia Lamfrey from CEN-CENELEC. She is a project manager. Mr. George Sharkov, that is ETSI Cyber USR Vice Chair, and our own Zlatan Moric from Algebra Bernay University. Felipe, do we hear you?
Good morning, everyone. I hope that you can hear me.
And what else can you expect from a cybersecurity event than having some cyber issues? Felipe, we can see you. Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, I am off and the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bruno. I hope that you can hear me. Please confirm.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It's a big pleasure to be speaking with you today. I hope that you can see my screen. This is exciting for us to see the first proper event of the Cyber Resilience Act standards taking place in a national community. So we're very happy that the room is full. So thank you, Zagreb, for showing up and for everybody who's there showing an interest. I'm going to start with some general slides on the Cyber Resilience Act. A quick presentation. My name is Philippe Morin. I'm a policy officer in DG Connect in the Cybersecurity Policies Unit. I've been working for the last 3 years on the implementation of the Cyber Resilience Act, and in particular on the technical standards, the harmonized standards that will support this implementation, together with the European standardization organizations and all the experts that have contributed to this process. So today I'll just give you a brief overview of the Cyber Resilience Act and then also give you an update of where we are on the implementation and the standardization. Moving to the next slide. So here we have our cheese slide. So the idea of the CRA in a nutshell is to remove some of the holes from our products, the products that we use every day. And it's very important that manufacturers, when they place products on the market, that they also consider the security issues that emerge and that they prepare for those issues in advance in what we call the security by design approach. Essentially, this is using the EU product legislation. You've seen the CE marking on your products before, but now there's new requirements related to cybersecurity that products will need to comply with. This is the general approach called the new legislative framework. So main elements of the law following this general model of the legislation is to have horizontal cybersecurity requirements that apply to all of the products in a risk-based way. The obligations apply to manufacturers, distributors, importers, basically the whole supply chain. And the essential requirements apply to the products across the whole life cycle. So it's no longer just when the product is inside the factory, the shop floor. It's also once the product goes out into the market, the manufacturer needs to continue monitoring that product in order to ensure the appropriate vulnerability handling whenever new issues arise. Then, to support the implementation of these legal requirements, the manufacturers will have some support through the harmonized standards. Again, this is why we're here today. But there's some other important elements of the legislation, such as that the conformity assessment itself is differentiated by product category and by risk category. There are dedicated reporting obligations. So manufacturers, when they find vulnerabilities, they need to report those to national CSIRTs. And then this legislation uses the notion of market surveillance authorities in order, so at national level, in order to have the enforcement of the legislation. The scope of the CRA is quite wide. So it covers all products with digital elements, which means both hardware products, software products, including the remote data processing solution that happens in the backend. So that is still legally considered a part of the product. Although there are some exclusions, in particular, exclusion for non-commercial products, especially open source. There's also a generic exclusion for services, in particular, what's called here standalone software as a service. So this is things like websites or purely web-based offerings. But as soon as such a service is integrated into like a hardware product, then it's considered part of the remote data processing solution. So software as a service, when it is exclusively standalone, might still be covered under the NIS2 directive, but it's not covered by the CRA. And then there's also some sectoral exclusions for other sectors that have already cybersecurity in their legislation. This includes automotive, medical devices, aeronautic equipment, and marine equipment. Okay, so the CRA innovates by having these broad horizontal cybersecurity requirements that apply to the whole supply chain. So what this means is that in order to make it work, manufacturers will now need to cooperate much more than before. So the general logic is that the manufacturer of an end product can communicate and rely on the CE marking of the components provided by other manufacturers that are also placing those components on the EU market. This allows to facilitate the conformity assessment of the end product, and it supports the communication along the supply chain. Then the conformity assessment, as I said, is also risk-based in the sense that it has different product categories. So the broad category, or we call it the default category, is allowed to do self-assessment. And then you have important category of products, important class 1, are allowed to self-assess if they have harmonized standards. Again, that's what brings us here today. But if they don't have standards, they can do third-party assessment. Important class 2, as well as critical products, always need to do third-party assessment. And then there's specific rules on assessment for free and open source software when it's in scope, which means that it can actually self-assess unless it's a critical product. Okay, and the next slide here represents a little bit the life cycle of how the CRA obligations and the compliance works for a manufacturer. The general logic is that you start with the risk assessment, you identify your risks, and on that basis, you define which essential requirements you need to implement in order to treat those risks. And then you do the conformity assessment according to the legislation, meaning self-assessment or third party. And then you can, once you have the certificate or once you place the CE marking, then you can place the product on the market. At that point, you're no longer in the design and development. You're now in the maintenance phase of the product, where you have to continue doing vulnerability handling, and you need to report obligations through the single reporting platform. Once the product lifetime is expired, then vulnerability handling stops, but reporting obligations of actively exploited vulnerabilities and severe incidents still continues towards the national CSIRT. So this is the general life cycle of cybersecurity for products going forward, placed on the EU market. And the general timeline of the CRA is that it has entered into force at the end of 2024, that's December 2024, with a 3-year transition period, meaning it will finally enter into application by December 2027. But there are some important milestones in between. The standardization request was adopted in the beginning of last year, 2025, and the publication of harmonized standards is foreseen for the end of 2026. In the meantime, the reporting obligations will start to apply from month 21. So, oops, sorry. So basically, this is kind of where we are at the moment. We are somewhere around the A. So that's before the reporting obligations and before the publication of the harmonized standards, where we are still working on the development of these standards. Okay, so now we move towards the CRA implementation. What have we done to implement this legal act? Well, basically, first milestones from last year are the setting up of the CRA expert group. There was meetings held in February, June, and October, so there will be 3 meetings per year for this expert group. It is a wide, varied stakeholder group that gives advice to the Commission on how to implement the CRA and helps to define guidance. You will hear a little bit more about that. And then there was also 2 implementing acts, an implementing act and a delegated act that have been adopted in December 2025, one for the technical descriptions of the important and critical product categories, and one for the terms and conditions for CSIRTs to withhold notifications, usually aspects related to national security. And then also towards the end of the year, we managed to publish a CRA website. So there's a link in the slides. And that includes a large set of frequently asked questions on the CRA. And I really recommend you to take a look at this, where basically a lot of the things that I'm presenting to you here very quickly are actually explained in more detail there. And you can find the links to all of these legal acts, implementing acts, the FAQs, etc. And that was a lot of the work that we did during last year. So it was quite a busy year for us. And next year, so this upcoming year, we're going to have also a lot of work. In particular, there is going to be the publication of legal guidance, hopefully in the first half of the year, that will cover several of the topics that are already in the FAQ, but with added detail. This should include things like the remote data processing solutions, the open source software and the open source stewards, concepts like the support period, the substantial modification, as well as interplay with other union legislation, how the CRA interplays with other legal acts. Then there's also the implementation of this legislation at national level that will continue. So this is where it comes with the member states, setting up notifying and market surveillance authorities in particular, setting up the ecosystem in order to support the testing and to support the enforcement of the CRA. And finally, ENISA is setting up the single reporting platform in time for the reporting obligations that kick in September 2026. So the single reporting platform will be operational a few months before, and it will be tested and piloted in due time. Finally, I also want to mention CRA implementation in terms of SME support. This is very important and close to our hearts. We want the CRA to be a support, to be a success with SMEs. So there's a number of support measures that are mentioned in Article 33, in particular, organizing awareness raising and also testing and conformity assessment activities to really support manufacturers and SMEs in actually having their products compliant. Tied to this is the notion of regulatory sandboxes. ENISA is already doing some work, and so is the Commission, to try to basically set up a framework for regulatory sandboxes so that these can be implemented at national member state level. And then there is a Commission empowerment for a simplified technical documentation. This is still in the works, but the idea would be that there can be a less burdensome way of defining all of the information that you need to provide in order to support SMEs. And then there's also specific support for SMEs under the Digital Europe program. And I want to highlight a few of the things which you might be very much aware of already. So the first is CyberStand, which has been the coordination and support action to support participation in the standards work. I hope that you will hear a lot about that today. There's also a project called Secure, which is really about giving direct funding third-party funding to SMEs to support their adaptation of their processes for CRA compliance. And finally, there's a number of tooling calls to support CRA compliance as well. And I know that that's part of the agenda today, that you will be hearing more about these projects. So it's a great success to bring all of these elements together. And then that finally brings us to the standardization aspect of CRA implementation. So under the CRA, as in general for the new legislative framework, the CRA refers to the notion of harmonized standards. The harmonized standards would give a presumption of conformity to manufacturers, provided that those standards cover all of the risks to a given product and a given use case. So on this basis, the Commission drafted a standardization request for the harmonized standards in support of the CRA. And this has been adopted by the Commission, and it has also been accepted by the European standardization organizations. So the work has been fully underway for more than a year. And the general logic of the standardization request is to, as much as possible, build on existing international and European standards, and then take what is useful and apply it to the context of the CRA. And to do this, the standardization request defines a kind of two-tiered approach, which has horizontal and vertical standards. So the general logic is that the horizontal provides a kind of repeatable framework that offers coherence to all the different standards. And the vertical standards can be product-specific and therefore can actually be granular enough in order to provide the presumption of conformity, because they address the specific risks entailed by different products. Now, we couldn't cover all products at once, so we've prioritized the important and critical products. That's the products defined in CRA Annex 3 and 4. So there's a number of products, 25 different product categories that the CRA identifies as more important or critical, and these are the vertical standards that we are using to kick off this exercise. But it's very important to note that the vision really is for this to be only the first building blocks of a new ecosystem of product security standards. So the next slide shows you a little bit better what I mean by that. You can imagine the standardization request as a kind of pyramid where you have the horizontal layers on top with the general framework and the product agnostic technical measures. But then you have at the bottom a number of vertical standards, and you see the gray bar to the side with the possibility of additional standardization requests in the future that would cover additional product categories. So the idea is that industry can also come and propose product category standards, vertical standards, that fit with the horizontal framework and cover their specific needs for a given product category. So for the moment, we have the first 25 verticals. But over time, we expect that industry will have an interest in actually proposing more standards. So there's going to be a lot of work to come. If you know of a product that you would like to standardize for, then get involved, because that's really, I think, the message of the standardization is that stakeholders, market operators, manufacturers, and users and experts need to get involved in the process in order to make it work properly. That's what we've been setting up the ground for 3 years, in trying to open up these domains in order for everybody to be able to participate. So I'm very happy, as I say, to be welcoming you today, and thank you for giving me the floor and for giving me your attention. With that, I conclude my presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Felipe. And I must additionally say that it is a great honor to be able to hear you. I'm sorry that you weren't able to join us, but let's hope that next time maybe you will visit Zagreb. That being said,
I would love that. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, that being said, we can move forward with our, if I'm not mistaken, joint presentation from Lucia Lamfrey from Sansenelec and from George Sharkov. So George, would you join us? Please, a big applause for George and Lucia. She's not present with us, but nevertheless, can you?
Security agency first?
No.
It's in the agenda.
Don't worry. Don't follow the agenda. I am the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Do you have your presentation ready and prepared?
It should be there.
Is this the one? Okay. And here is your pointer, George.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you
So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of the show. You have George here, and do we have Lucia online?
Yeah, let me
Yes,
first check
very
if
good.
Lucia is there.
I'm here. Well, hi everyone. Good
Hey,
morning.
thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I give you the floor, the screen, the mic in a minute. Okay, after we start, that's a joint presentation related to the role of the three European standardization organizations. So my name is George Sharkov, and I'm a vice chair of HC. This is Cyber EUSR specific group that I will talk about that. And I represent Small Business Standards organization there in HC. And Lucia will talk shortly on behalf of Senelec. So those are who we are. That's the introduction slide. The three organizations are officially recognized by the regulation 1025 from 2012 when ETSI joined the group, because previously it was Senelec only, of the officially recognized standardization organizations. Yeah, I see the next slide here. That's why I'm talking like that. Okay, I will say a few words about the ETSI, and then I give the floor to the screen to Lucia. So ETSI has a long story, established 1988. Coincidentally, that's the year when the first virus, Morris worm, was considered, and the world started talking about cybersecurity. But at that time, that was related to telecommunication, postal and telecommunication services. So it was established as an independent non-profit organization, and currently there are more than 900 member organizations from all around the world, more than 60 countries. As I said, more than 30 years experience in different standards, starting with telecom, of course, in GSM standards, M2M, and many others, but expanded with many technical committees and groups related to other aspects of ICT, and of course, software development, services, devices, and cryptography, and so on. I will mention some of the committees that are related to that. Of course, strong community, both from industry, public sector, academia, with a major focus on also on SMEs, large, small member organizations, and so on. So one of the technical committees that is related to cyber, that was established 2014, and I think I joined from the first year, that on behalf of Small Business Standards, and it's a center of excellence of all technical standards, but not only related to cybersecurity, from devices, software, services, network security, and so on. Then, 2019, a kind of spin-off of this technical committee was first industry specification group on securing AI, and since 4 years, this full capacity technical committee, and I will mention it. So there are other groups or technical committees that are related to the field, naturally security of mobile networks, of course, network function virtualization, NV, intelligent transport systems, digital signatures, the ESI, electronic signatures infrastructure, quite busy with the eIDAS implementation, and currently with digital wallet, EU digital wallet, and smart cards, secure elements, quantum key distribution, and also the subgroup of technical committee cyber on quantum safe cryptography. Then we have lawful interception, of course, in securing, that's the new committee I said, AI, multi-access edge computing, and so on. So you see all the aspects of the entire ecosystem are covered. Not all of them, a lot of them are related, of course, of reliability, safety, and including cybersecurity, which is the focus of this cyber. And certainly, we collaborate with all the international standardization organizations and committees. The first place, Senelec, with a JTC 13 on a cyber field, and you'll hear that the joint role or responsibilities related to CRA implementation standards, and the other technical committees that are related, some of them are to the horizontal standards, but that will be presented later. And naturally, ENISA, the European Cybersecurity Agency. We used to work in TC Cyber a lot on a lot of standards supporting the implementation of NIS2 directive, Cybersecurity Act, and naturally expanding with the Cyber Resilience Act. Yeah, ISO, of course, ITU, and many standards. We have liaison with all these and MOUs with all these standardization committees. A lot of our standards or technical specifications are expanded ISO, ITU, NIS from US, NIST. Okay. I would mention also that the focus of building standards, it's not, it's like standalone, because we do a lot of technical reports or guides that are related to the implementation of the standards, assessment methods, and especially in TC Cyber, particular focus on SMEs, affordability, accessibility to the standards, and yeah, the implementation guidelines. Okay, more information, of course, you can find on a stand for CRA, the specific website, which is at ETSI Labs. The role, of course, the portal, the consultation portal that we have, which is publicly available to those that are interested in participating in consulting the standards, in the drafts of the standards, joining the group and consultation and getting informed. There will be more coming after that, but now I give the floor, the mic to Lucia.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, George, for the first part of this presentation. My name is Lucia Lamfrey. I'm currently in Brussels. I'm sorry I could not join you in person. I'm a project manager from the side of CEN and CENELEC, and I'm going to give you a brief introduction about CEN and CENELEC. We are present in 34 countries. So each of yours, you can try to find your country. You have a sub-representation, let's say, of the National Standardization Organization. And this means that everyone who would like to participate in standardization activities can contact their national standards organization, and then they will onboard you, and then they will explain you how to participate in the standardization. So I hope this is one of my main messages, and from the ETSI side is also similar. If you're interested in any of the standardization activities, you only need to Google your country and standardization, and then you will find the next step will be probably to click in the website and contact them. So in particular, then these are our members at CEN and CENELEC, and we have a lot of business sectors. Just like you heard from the presentation from George, we also cover a lot of sectors. I'm not going to talk about them in particular. But in general, I wanted to give you an overview on how it works to participate in standardization activity. As I said, we are based on the national principles, so you first contact your national standardization body. And the idea is then to come together with other experts of your country and have the discussions, and then come to the European level. So in this case, to CEN and CENELEC, and we are in continuous dialogue with a lot of stakeholders, between others, the European Commission. And it's very important, as it was said before by the previous colleagues in the presentations, standardization is always voluntary. So standards are never mandatory, or almost never mandatory. And it is important then that we have a lot of stakeholders involved, so that the documents that are developed are representing a continuous dialogue, the state of the art, and that they are representative. With that, I'm going to jump directly then to what brings us together today, which is a standardization request. And you probably remember from his presentation, that pyramid showing the idea of the standardization request. So basically, standardization request is a request that the European Commission does to one or more of the European standardization organizations. So in this case, it was addressed to CEN, CENELEC, and ETSI to produce standards in support of a legislation. And in this case, I take the same pyramid. We have a framework, and we have all vertical standards, as explained by Philippe. And The idea is that these two are interlinked together. So the top of the pyramid is offering the generic framework. Then there is also the vulnerability handling standards. And there on top of all of that, there is vertical standards. And we are going to see later today in the program a lot of the work that is taking place there. So the idea is that the verticals are granular enough to address all of the risks and the mitigations that are necessary to obtain the presumption of conformity. So here I'm going to show you a little bit of the work that is being taken at the horizontal level. This can guide manufacturers in the self-assessment process and help them to cover the essential security requirements. And in particular, we have at the top of the pyramid 2 deliverables. It's a vocabulary, and it's just providing terms and definitions, and also providing, they are doing the principles for cyber resilience. To move on, we have also what we have here, the security controls, addressing the essential product security requirements. It's simply a library, let's say, of security controls, and it's a mapping between the essential requirements to the essential to the security controls. And finally, we have the last horizontal is the vulnerability handling, and specifies, of course, the vulnerability handling requirements not only at the process level, but also at the product level. So on those horizontal frameworks are not per se enough, and they need to be complemented by the vertical standards. And for this, there is a lot of work being done here, and I'm going to show you a quick overview on the different topics, where they are going to be, where they are being developed, so that if you are interested in knowing more, you know a little bit where to find them. So we have 28 of the vertical topics that will be expected to provide presumption of conformity. And we have different project teams, and we are counting here with great support of the Stanford CR projects and CyberStant as well. Here you have a number of, on the left-hand side, a number of committees. That is how we work. We work in the level of technical committees where the experts all come together. And here the TC Cyber is dedicated then to the development of standards. So this is a TC, a technical committee from ETSI, and they are drafting 18 of the 28 product standards. They are involved, of course, in a lot of coordination with Senelec as well. They have a specialist task force, my dear colleague Federica, who is doing an amazing job in coordinating all of the rapporteurs and organizing this wonderful event as well. And the work of the technical committees are, of course, the main purpose is to not deviate from inclusiveness, transparency, and openness. At ETSI TC Cyber, they are also doing early public consultations, and then George from ETSI will tell you more about it later in the presentation. And the objective is at all of the technical committees to try to have as much as possible balanced representation, SMEs, open source community, etc. So this was a little bit of an introduction from ETSI. Even though I'm from Senelec, I have here the opportunity to present the ETSI, TC Cyber. And you can see the big list here of all the work they are doing here. So I'm not expecting you to read all of the slides, but you can see a lot of the titles, a lot of the names. All of this work is taking place at ETSI. As it was announced before, the slides are going to be shared in the website. So later on, if you're interested, you can go slowly through them and see in detail. So if you're interested in any of this work, you know that is under the ETSI TC Cyber. So similarly at CEN and Senelec, we have the CEN TC 224, and each technical committee, TC I call it, they have a topic, they have a scope. In this case, the 224 is personal identification, related personal devices, secure elements, a very long title. And in particular, they do a lot of work, but for the cyber-related activities, it's these three topics. Is identity management systems, hardware devices, security boxes, and smart card applications. So again, if you're interested in any of these topics, you know where to find them. And we have also everything related to the microprocessors, microcontrollers, and the platforms of smart cards is being developed by the Senelec Technical Committee 47X, that is all about semiconductors and trusted chips implementations. We also have a lot of the industrial, so the operational technology is being developed at the CENELEC Technical Committee 65X, and they are building on a very, very known international standard, which is the EN IEC 62443. So there are different parts that are being updated to be conform to the Cyber Resilience Act, because they previously were not. And on top of that, these can be seen as horizontal frameworks or broad verticals, and they will build on a lot of product-specific vertical standards focusing on the operational technology aspects of the VPNs, network managed systems, etc. So finally, we have at the CENELEC JTC 13 Working Group 6, everything about product security they do, and they took the work on the smart meter gateways. So with this was an overview on just to show you how the experts were. So they come from the national representations, or they can join a technical committee, bring their perspective, and then finally take part of the discussions, take the pen and draft the standards together with the other experts. And for that, these are the different technical committees. This is a little bit of the timeline. So we have had a lot of open consultations since last year, and we have achieved by the end of December a very important milestone in this project, which is developing all of the standards, that the standards reached what we call the mature draft. So it's a draft that is advanced enough to offer it, let's say, for the feedback of the European Commission. And this was a very important milestone for the project and for the standards. And now the next coming months, we are still going to focus on improving those drafts. And finally, as of more or less, we expect March or April, we will launch what we call the public inquiry. And the drafts then are for 12 weeks available for consultation for the public. And this is a generic high-level timeline. There are some drafts that are under the inquiry already today, and they will be also open for the feedback. And about the open consultations and the dissemination events, you will hear it a little bit more from George in the next coming slides. So with that, I'm very pleased to give you back the floor, George.
Thank you very much, Lucia. Stay in line, because there will be a question or several questions from the audience. I switch back to my workspace where we, oops, sorry. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we are competing there for the control. Thank you for that. I wanted actually to come back just shortly to this verticals, the list, because I think part of the audience, especially coming from industry, but not only, will be extremely related to the verticals. Horizontals, you can judge from the title cybersecurity, and generally, as you saw, the principles and the vulnerability disclosure and something. But here, by verticals, some people were thinking and talking about the sectoral verticals, the way we used to have in a normal business life. Those are not sectoral. Verticals are related to specific security devices, application products that are related or have security components. And you'll see here a lot of familiar applications and devices that you use in your daily life, like the browsers, password managers, and so on. You have the boot managers and operating systems, of course, virtual private networks, smart, and some of the verticals related to the smart business or industry that we have, like smart home, general purpose virtual assistants, or products with security functions, and so on, internet connected toys. So you can imagine that those are complex systems, and when you consider them as integrated applications or devices or products, then you have to take into account all the dependencies between the different components that are delivered by different suppliers. And I will remind you, the focus of Cyber Resilience Act is to ensure not only about the security of the devices or products only, but through all the supply chain that you have. And this is why we have this harmonized standard that are applied to not only to your product, but all the ingredients of the products. And that's in general the idea of this, the cheese part that Filippa was showing. And also following that through the supply chain, you have a lot of dependencies of the services that you have from your components or from the services that you receive outside through the supply chain, but you have to follow that through all the supply chain, not just the first supplier to you, or the value chain if you consider more general. And therefore, the standards are integral. So you will see in the vertical standards, a lot of normative references to the horizontal standards, to other specific standards that are related to some of the components that you're using. So this was the important one, and this is why when we develop the vertical standards, we need to synchronize very well with the horizontal standards that are being presented, and it's mainly the job of Sensenelec, work group 9, in this PT1, 2, 3, 4, and yeah, till 3, and then synchronize both the content, the delivery, and the consultation and the taking into force. And okay. So therefore, it is important, this part about the consultation and the preparation of mature drafts, and finally in the public inquiry to align or synchronize on this timeline of that, and how the stakeholder engagement, how you practically can participate in that process. Okay, I will be short. So there is, especially for those verticals that we are doing at EUSR, TC Cyber, that we have a lot of events, public events that are related to this consultation feedback or comments, also building early awareness on that. So we have several webinars, deep dive sessions that are going on for, I think, past in December, and now there are ongoing sessions with the rapporteurs of all the drafts being prepared. And then we have the EU tour that started, luckily for you, and it's our pleasure, honor to be here, starting from Zagreb. So you'll see the places or the links how you can participate the online consultation. All the drafts are public already, so you can consult them, you can comment on that. Please do comment through the official blog or the feedback forms there, not through the blogs or public or whatever, because it's a working process. So give your constructive comments if you want to participate in that, or participate just the different events. So we have the deep dive sessions, as I said. We had the routers, modems, and switches and all. You have the chance to talk or to consult or to communicate with the rapporteurs and the team, the task force teams that are doing. And the next stops for the EU tour after this one here, it's every month, as you see, you have in Torino, Barcelona, Paris to be confirmed, Malta, and so on. You have also here already this, after that in the sessions, you will have more than 4 of the vertical standards with the rapporteurs like Daniel, Ivan, Bruno, and Luca. So you have extensive sessions. You'll get acquainted to the structure, how it works. You see the and what the next steps will be. Okay, I think through the website stand for CRA. You get an ETSI website. You'll get a lot of additional information, links how you can participate the process. Again, it is important not just to build awareness as expected regulation that will come must, but just to make it practical and working, both like from academia viewpoint, as we were talking, our students, and I'm teaching more than 20 years, industrial standards in software engineering. So that's very important to implement also security by design, resilience by design, and everything what Felipe and the Commission requested with the implementation and standardization request. I think That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Do we have any questions from the audience? I would be more than glad to bring the microphone to you. Please don't be shy. They are shy, but that's expected. You know, it's.
At the end of the day, we'll have a short panel where we can answer a lot of questions, actually, after you hear some of the drafts.
Exactly. Please check Cyberstand EU website for the updated agenda. We will be having a panel on the end of the session today, so you will get a lot more interesting information. And please feel free to participate, to be interactive, and to pop any questions that come to your mind. But without further ado, I would like to announce Mr. Zlatan Moric from University of Algebra. Zlatan is head of cybersecurity department, and Algebra is actively participating in teaching students and participate in all the scientific relevant explorations related to cybersecurity, and that goes without saying for CRA as well. So, Zlatan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bruno, for introduction. And good day, everyone, and welcome to CRA Standard Unlocked. It's my pleasure to, in the name of Algebra Berlitz University, to welcome you here. Today, all gather around one of the most, let's say, regulatory shifts in the Europe digital environment. So, I'm not the expert in this part, so my presentation have only the questions. And I hope that you will find some of the answers on today's workshop. And the first question is why we are here today. I presume that we are here because cybersecurity in Europe has reached a structural turning point, and we figure out that voluntary base of best practices in cybersecurity are failing. So the market doesn't recognize that. And the people buying the products which are not secure. And basically we are here because the European Union has clearly stated that cybersecurity is not longer optional. It's mandatory, measurable, and enforceable. And that is something that I read in the documents from CRA right now. We are still waiting the standards, how we will implement that, but that's the reason why we are here now. And the next question is, what the problem is Cyber Resilient Act actually trying to solve? So basically, we are witnessing that our environment, European Union, has rapidly digitalized and everything have digital component. But at the same time, we have situation where the new products are released with the known vulnerabilities. We have products which are not updated, even if there are major critical vulnerability exist. And basically, the responsibility is fragmented between the supply chain and different producers. And in the most case, the major responsibility is at the consumer or the business who use that product. And I think the Syria want to change that model, that responsibility need to be on producers. Okay. And basically, right now, I hope that this workshop will try to answer the question, what is different in CRA in comparison with some previous regulation? Okay? So I will just give some of my observation. The first one is how the CRA changed the game. And if we check previous regulations, we will see that most regulations are, let's say, organizational oriented. We have, NIS2, we have DORA, etc. So all of them trying to regulate organization, and CRA try to regulate products, not organization. Okay? Also, it's mean that every product with digital elements placed on European Union market must meet some defined cybersecurity requirements through its entire life cycle. Okay? And very important things, we already heard that. All products are not the same. Okay? And also, when we're talking about that, the CRA influence the different product categories based on the risk and potential impact. I will not go in detail related to that. We have one slide in introduction related to default products, important critical products, etc. But what is important? Important is that the different categorization of the products will lead to the different pathway of implementation of the CRA. Okay, but what is also very, very important and which will be in some part challenging is, as a producer, how I know in which category my products belong. And that is something that I think that on today's workshop you will find some more information related to that. Also, the CRA rapidly used the phrase security by design, security by default. And what does this mean? It means threat modeling during the design, secure development life cycle, vulnerability handling, software build-up material, updates and patching. Anyone know the answer? I think it's all of that. But we will see. Okay, and why standards are the key to CRI competence? So, which brings us to the central question of today's workshop. How do we translate legal requirements into some concrete, testable, audible actions? And the CRI define what must be achieved, and standard define how we will achieve it. And harmonized standards with operationalized CRA requirements provide presumption of conformity and enable manufacturer to demonstrate compliance efficiently and consistently. So another critical question is how the organization act today. Will standards still be finalized? This work is something that is going on and in progress. Okay? And also, how the CRA will change the digital environment and market alone. So basically, CRA will raise the minimum cybersecurity baseline for all the products, which force transparency across supply chain, shift responsibility, etc. At the same time, it's raise the difficult questions. How will SMEs navigate categorization, conformity pathways? How will global vendors adapt their product portfolios, etc.? And also, another question, why should the organization act now? So the full enforcement will be by the end of 2027. But I'm not sure, in the introduction they mentioned, I think at the half of this year, the reporting must start. Probably something like that. And basically right now, I'm not sure that anyone knows to whom I need to report that incident. Okay? So it's a very close that time when I need to start that, and I don't know the form how to report that. And basically, I'm not sure that I know in other European countries, but all of them need to have some local legal documents, etc., related, and who will be responsible for that. And it's still in development. Okay, so I hope that this workshop will be very useful to you, not some high-level overview or legal discussion. I think that will help you to find out how you can classify your products in CRA, which comparative pathway, which standards are relevant, etc. So basically, what I already said, what if a CRA is not regulation and just some principle for the future European digital ecosystem? And basically, we will have situation that products categories reflect the real risk, standardized, provides clear instead of confusion, trust is built in technology, and the resilience is intentional, not reactive. And the Cyber Resilient Act is not simple compliance obligation. It's a signal that Europe is serious about security digital product, a signal that cybersecurity and quality is something that must have, and the signal that digital signal markets is entering a new phase of maturity. And at this point, we already mentioned that education is a very important part, and we are now at Algebra Venice University, and something that I want to introduce. So the Algebra was involved in some Digital Europe projects, and one of them is IQ Defense, and some of the deliverables of that project will be some training materials related to CRA. So we'll produce at least 2 training programs related to CRA. Okay? And basically at the end, I hope that you will learn something today and find some answers to those questions that I put here. And thank you and enjoy your rest of the workshop.
Thank you, Zlatan. And this would conclude the first part of our today's event. No, you still can't go on a coffee break, I'm sorry. The coffee break will be soon, and everything is prepared outside. But before we do that, Mr. Nick Ferguson will introduce some of the CRA open source tooling and some funding that is available to you. So I will give him the floor and take particular attention here. This will be very interesting because this opens much opportunities and provides you with some tangible elements from today's event as an outcome. Nick, the floor is yours. Thank you so much. Is it better? Oh. Yeah, it is.
Okay, right, yeah, now you can hear me. Okay, so my name's Nick Ferguson, and I'm a senior manager at an SME called Trust IT Services. We're based in Pisa in Italy, you know, with the tower. And I'm also the coordinator of the Cyberstan project, which is a project funded through the Digital Europe program, which looks at funding standardization or funding people to develop the standards which Lucia and George mentioned in their presentations. And in this session, what we want to do is bring a number of projects, a number of other projects, which are also funded by the Commission, to talk about the different activities that they are doing. So the Commission has funded a number of activities to support the implementation of the Cyber Resilience Act. This varies from, as I said, the development of standards, which Cyberstan and Stand for CRA looks after. So providing money to people who want to develop the standards. This includes people already working in technical committees, but also small businesses and startups, giving them the opportunity to do so. There are also projects which provide tools as well, and this is what Felipe mentioned, so actual tools designed to support small and medium enterprises, micro enterprises, to become compliant with and prepare for the Cyber Resilience Act. And so we'll be hearing from a number of these projects who are not only providing tools, but also guides and training and organizing similar events to these around Europe over the next year or two. And then there's even another project called Secure, which provides funding. So funding to help SMEs become compliant, and funding for companies to also use the very tools that the projects on the left-hand side of the screen are developing. So there's loads of opportunities, and there's plenty of funding opportunities for companies to prepare themselves for what is ahead. So in a moment, I'll ask all of the people in the room to come up to the stage. But first, I'll just touch on CyberStan. So, as I said, CyberStan's has been running for 18 months now. We have another 18 months ahead. And our main focus is, as I said, providing funding to people to develop and work on the standards which George and Lucia showed. So we have €1.5 million available for this. And I think around 1.1 million we've already spent, and I'll show you how this is being used by SMEs in particular so far. Now, part of that goes also to providing implementation guides. So at the moment, a number of standards are in review phase, so they're being looked at and revised, and we are providing funding to help a review of these standards from an SME point of view. And based on this, a set of guides for each standard will be written and published over the next year. And this is all to make the standards more SME friendly and more implementable. As you can see on the bottom there, we also have guides as well. There's a number of guides, the other guides around vulnerability handling and risk assessment, which we've produced. And also looking on broader perspectives, looking ahead to how the Cyber Resilience Act will be implemented at a national level. So what are different member states doing? What guides are they producing? What guidance are they producing to the companies who are based in each of the member states? Also looking at how the Cyber Resilience Act interplays with other regulations. You know, we have things like the AI Act as well. You know, if a product touches on both of these acts, then how should things pan out there? So these are all things for the future, but are equally important. And then working with the Stand for CRA project, delivering loads of events around Europe. You've seen some of the other dates as well on sensitizing companies to the Cyber Resilience Act. So the CyberStan project has half of our budget has gone to fund SMEs here to develop standards and to become part of the development of them, and to sensitize also the way the standards are written and then implementable for a small business community. So we're really pretty pleased. You can see where these activities have gone to, but this also opens a lot of doors. So if you've never taken part in standardization or contributed to a technical committee, then it can open a lot of doors for you in terms of networking and also understanding market forces as well. So when you go into a standards meeting, you're not just seeing the usual faces that you might see in your everyday work. It opens up, a whole range of stakeholders and a whole range of people from different countries around Europe. So it's a great opportunity, and this funding has really helped 36 companies to do this. So without further ado, I'll just invite the other speakers to come up now. So if we can have James from Octet, Christian from Curiam, Sandra from Krakowi, I think it's Aziz from Confirmate, Katerina from Oskarat, and we have Alessandro joining us online for the final presentation. So Each of the speakers have 5 minutes each, okay? And as we said, all of these projects, so certainly the first 5 are producing compliance tools, okay? Designed specifically for SMEs. So they're gonna tell you a bit about them. And then the final presentation is from Alessandra, who will tell you about funding, which is available for SMEs. So I think first up is you, James.
Thank you, Nick. Good morning, everybody. So I'm James Philpott from the European Digital SME Alliance. We are thank you. We're a trade association based in Brussels that represents ICT SMEs. So exactly the type of company we have in the room today. And we essentially are trying to get the European Commission and European parliamentarians to listen to the voices of European SMEs. Digital SME, we are part of both Cyberstand and Octet. So first, I'll explain what Octet is. So this is a project that focuses on creating an open source toolkit to automate the compliance process for free and open source software that is used in digital products. So the toolkit itself is an open cybersecurity, compliance toolkit, hence the name Octet. And so it's designed especially to help SMEs evaluate your readiness for the CRA. And in particular, as I mentioned, this is focusing on the open source components of your products. So the toolkit is made up of 6 different components. Firstly, there is a compliance checklist. So this is basically a guide that outlines the specific requirements and documentation obligations that digital products, depending on free and open source software, must meet, so to ensure the alignment with the CRA. The second is a conformity assessment specification. So these are the guidelines evaluating whether or not a FOSS component complies with the CRA. So it allows you to decide whether or not to integrate it into your product based on its compliance status, so you can use other components with confidence. The third part is an automated evaluation method and tool. So this is a tool that's designed to automate the assessment of FOSS components, so it reduces the manual effort that companies have to take and enhances the overall accuracy of evaluations. There will be a federated data platform. So this allows for users of FOSS components to publish their assessment results. So it allows for kind of crowdsourcing understanding of the compliance levels of different products, and it allows users to assign trust level to different contributors. So you can see at a glance a range of products that you might, or a range of components that you might want to use for your product. There will also be an automatic dependency analysis tool. So this component comprises an inventory of tools such as SBOM generators that allow you to identify and assess different FOSS dependencies. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, there will be a reporting tool that will automatically generate the required documentation that details the compliance level of your product based on its FOSS components. So this is what's inside the toolkit. The important thing is that it's currently in the testing phase. So if you follow the QR code on the screen, you'll be able to run a self-assessment that helps you understand where you are in terms of readiness for the CRA, and then you can beta test the tools as they're being developed. So currently the SBOM generator is in the testing phase. So if you have any interest in following this or helping test it to improve it, the QR code on screen will lead you to the website where you can do so. As I mentioned, we are also part of Cyberstand, and one of our roles in this project is to understand the struggles and needs of SMEs with regards to understanding the CRA and the compliance challenges. So I'll be here and listening to the discussions, but if you have any specific thoughts or comments, I might not be able to provide the answers, but we have almost a direct line to the European Commission through Cyberstand. So we'll be able to report back to them that this is what companies are struggling with, and so they can orient their guidance and their support mechanisms to better deal with that. So if you have any comments with that regard, please feel free to come and have a chat with me today, and we can include it in our reports back to the European Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Kristijan Ravić, and I'm representing a company called Cybersecurity, which is a small firm based in Zagreb, Croatia. And today I'm representing the consortium of Curium project, which is actually a consortium that consists of 9 individual organizations. 2 of those are like national authorities, 1 of Greece and 1 of Cyprus, and 1 competence center that is 28 Digital. So the idea of our project, which is actually not so long, duration-wise, it's not a long project. It's like only 78 weeks or 18 months. So we started this project in 2025 in January, and we're going to finish it in June. So the idea of our project is to help create a trustworthy digital valley in the European Union, and to help SMEs to kind of get the necessary compliance with the CRA. So on the left bottom of your screen, you can see our links, and on the right part of the screen, you can see the QR code that leads you to our website, and on the bottom right, you can see a QR code that kind of gets you to our newsletter. Why? So we are actually building this compliance continuum, which is actually like a toolbox that consists of 5 tools. Practically, we are now in the iterative validation phase, as in this phase of the project. So we would like to invite anybody who is interested in having like a conformance and compliance assessment or some other risk approach-based evaluation of your company that has some, or your organization that has some digital products that are like non-critical. So we can really help you out to kind of get that declaration of conformity, even not just the SBOM, through our portal that will be soon open to public. So next slide, please. So as I mentioned, our objective is to create. So our vision is basically to create a digital trustworthy EU landscape as for cybersecurity, to be helpful for organizations to be compliant with the upcoming CRA regulation. And how we intend to do that is through agile validation process that is super iterative. I mentioned already that our project is not that long, so we are now in the 13th month of the project implementation. So I would like to invite you now to maybe click on the Slido QR code to join us to answer on a couple of questions. You would need to log in with your full name and the name of your email. And there you will have like 2 rooms. One is for Q&A about the project, and the other one is like 3 short questions, whether practically you will be interested in one of the tools. So the tools are conformance and compliance assessment, DPMA, CRA, PTS TVA, that is pen self-testing vulnerability assessment. So we cover a whole, a lot of aspects of getting your digital products be secure and compliant with the CRA. So I would like to invite you to follow the QR code and to fill in the questionnaire. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them there, and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. And yeah, you can freely contact me or reach out to me during this workshop, and I will be willing to answer all of your questions. Thank you.
I can continue, no? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sandra. I work for Tico Pro. Tico Pro is a consultancy company coming from Slovenia. We help organizations write project proposals and apply for EU funding, and I can say that we are very successful in that. One of the projects that we wrote proposal was also a Cracovia. Not only that, we are also a project partner on a couple of EU projects. We also leading work packages for communication and dissemination and stakeholder engagement. Today, a couple of words about the Cracovia project. Cracovia project is Digital Europe funded project. It lasts for 36 months. We started end of 2024, and we will hopefully successfully finish our project next year in August. We have 14 partners for 4 European countries working on this project. Basically, what we are doing, we are trying to develop a Cyber Resilience Act compliance wizard, a tool that will help SMEs comply much easier with Cyber Resilience Act. Now, while we know that large companies can have multiple resources to comply with CRA, we see that SMEs struggle with money, with time and expertise to comply with CRA. That's why we see that Cracovia as a tool is automated AI-supported tool that builds framework which will support, which will embed security by design through the entire life cycle of the digital product. That will help with keeping your product following standardization's principles, and as well, I'm missing a word, sorry, support compliance, sorry, I completely lost it. So yes, to do a self-assessment, and of course, one of the additional things that we are doing is building a tool is what we are proud of, that we organized that what we call Cracademy, CRA Academy, which will provide additional tools, resources, webinars, workshops for anyone that is interested in Cyber Resilience Act, and also how to implement this tool in their organizations. So Cracovia as a tool is not built from the scratch. It actually uses two already proven platforms from Bunkai and OneKey. These are also our partners from Germany that are building this tool. This tool will help, as I said, to do self-assessment, to automate, prepare documentation, and hopefully help you certify your products. We are focused on 4 major stakeholder groups. Based on these groups, we also have prepared 6 use cases. And by the end of these use cases and the project, we should have a tool that will help manufacturers to comply with CRA through the entire life cycle of the project, help distributors and importers to check the compliances of and the papers which were introduced by the manufacturers, help critical infrastructure operators to check on their products if they're compliant, they can monitor them and see if they need to be updated. And of course, with authorities, help them with, if we can help them with standardization or some other certification process, we are here to help, as well to provide some additional trainings that we will do through the Cyber Resilience Act, Cracovia tool. Now, since we are focused on SMEs, I kindly invite anyone who is interested in Cyber Resilience Act and wants to follow Cracovia tool, that they follow our pages. You can register for Cracovia registry. You just follow the QR code. We are preparing multiple workshops and webinars. I think it will be useful for everyone. And of course, if you are interested to be one of the first testers, users, we can keep in contact and see what we can do by the end of the project. I think that's about it.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Hi, everyone. I'm Aziz Kamal from Cyan. Now I'm presenting the Conformate project. So Conformate is an European project focused on streamlining and automating compliance with the Cyber Resilience Act, CRA. The main idea is very simple. CRA can be complex, time-consuming, and often overwhelming for SMEs. So Conformate tries to reduce that burden. The project delivers open source tool, CRA compliance guide, pen testing methodology, and also training materials in 5 languages, covering over 60% of the EU population. This is to make the SMEs understand what the CRA requires, keep with the regulation changes, and also apply the cybersecurity requirement in a practical way. So, in short, Conformate exists to make the CRA compliance more accessible, more understandable, and more achievable for the SMEs developing product with the digital elements. Next slide, please. Okay, so now I will talk more about the technical core of the Conformate, which is the automation tool. The automation tool is designed to support the conformity assessment against the CRA essential cybersecurity requirements. So instead of relying on manual checklists and fragmented documentation, the automation tool, as the name suggests, automate the compliance and also compares the organization security settings and the policies directly against the CRA requirement. One key point or one key value of the tool is that through the dashboard that you can see on the screen, SMEs can see which CRA requirements are already implemented, which one still needs assessment, and where action is required. Of course, as you can imagine, this will help to save significant amount of time, but more importantly, that it gives clear and understandable and actionable insights. So SMEs, they don't just get the compliance status, they get guidance on where to improve next, and also how to continuously monitor and maintain the compliance over time. So in a practical perspective, the SMEs, the Conformate project, turns the CRA compliance from one-off exercises into an ongoing, manageable process that SMEs, which fits much better with how SMEs work. If you have any questions or to follow our pages and see the trainings that we just mentioned, you can scan the QR code on the screen and you can reach out to me after the presentation. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if you have. And if you would like to be the pilot of this tool, I would be more than happy to assist you and onboard you. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, I am Ekaterina Donciu. I'm an information security consultant from Enersec Technology. It's a cybersecurity company based in Romania. It's a pleasure for me to join this panel and this event and share and present about OSCRAT project alongside with other initiatives and tools that have one goal, how to make CRA compliance practical and achievable for European SMEs. Because while large companies have a lot of budgets and can invest in compliance consultancies, teams, tools, many SMEs still face struggle and a practical challenge how to translate the CRA requirements into a practical step-by-step guide. So that's why we built the OSCRAT that tried to fill the gap between policy and bureaucracy. So OSCRAT is a co-founded European project that bring together expertise across Europe. We have a consortium from companies from Romania and Poland, Estonia, Italy, and Bulgaria. So the OSCRAT, how it's called, it's came from Open Source Cyber Resilience Act tools. So it's an open, freely accessible platform designed to help SMEs to assess, implement, and demonstrate ongoing compliance. So it supports SME across key areas of CRA compliance, and this includes automated compliance assessment, SBOM generation, incident handling aligned with European requirements, vulnerability management, documentation management, risk management, configuration management, and also training awareness evidence as required for CRA requirement. So because it's built specifically for SMEs, we try to design the tool with real-world constraints in mind. So limited budgets, small security teams, and low tolerance for bureaucracy. So we try not just to explain the CRA, we guide organization to step by step in a way that fits more how the SME actually operates. Being part of SME, I know how struggle it's to have people and resources to implement all the things that we need to do. So next slide, please. To raise awareness about the CRA and grow a community around the tool, because open source means a community in the first place. Last year, we organized a series of hands-on online workshops that focus on explaining the CRA requirements and how to implement in a practical way. So this year, the Oscar project go from the development phase and hands-on engagement. So we are going in a beta testing. So starting with 28 January, we are launching a series of workshops focused on using the Oscar tool. This session will include a live demonstration of the platforms, guided CRA-aligned workflows, opportunity to test features of the tool, and also interaction with cybersecurity experts that could be helpful. So on this slide, we'll have QR registration for our upcoming sessions. So maybe you'll find a slot that fits your calendar. So participation is free of charge, and all registered participants will receive after the workshop all the materials and the recordings. So don't miss this opportunity. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Okay, so if we go now, I think Alessandro is joining us online for the final project.
Can you hear me?
Okay?
Yeah, can you hear me? Should I share my screen?
We can't hear you, I'm afraid.
You can't hear me?
We can, yes, we can now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Should I share my screen, or are you presenting?
Yes, please, if you share your screen.
Okay. Just a second. Here we are. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can. If you can put it on, yes,
Yeah.
we can now.
Okay.
Perfect, yeah.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for this invitation. I am sorry I couldn't join you in presence, but as you will see, we are launching our project next week, and so it's a pretty busy period. I'm Alessandro Calabrese. I'm from Cyber 4.0, which is one of the Secure Consortium partners. The Secure project is funded under the Digital Euro program again, and it is coordinated by the Italian National Cybersecurity Agency, with other 7 partners representing private companies and also some national cybersecurity coordination centers all around Europe. The project is also endorsed by other external national coordination center, and the scope is to reinforce cybersecurity resilience around the European and European Economic Area, European Union and the European Economic Area, and by helping companies, in particular micro, small, and medium enterprises, to achieve the Cyber Resilience Act compliance through the launch of open calls for financial support. So we are financing companies in order to achieve Cyber Resilience Act. We are financing activities and projects. The project total budget the project total budget for financing is 16.5 million euros, and we are launching, as I already mentioned, this our first call starting from the next week, and will launch at least another call. So in total, at least two open calls for micro, small, and medium enterprises based in European Union or European Economic Area. Here you can find also our website, which is already online with all other information that you may need to join and to apply for funding. Talking about this, our first open call, the launch date, as I said, will be the next week on the 28th of January. The call deadline will be the 29th of March, so applicants will have at least 2 months to apply to subscribe to our open online platform. The platform will be available on the same date of the launch of the call. What we are financing? We are financing a mini project, that is to say, activities, goods, and services that are aimed at strengthening cyber resilience and achieving the compliance with the Cyber Resilience Act. The budget for this first call will be 5 million euros. And we are granting a co-financing of the 50% on the costs of the presented project. That is to say that if you are asking 10, we are giving 5, just to simplify it. The maximum grant for each project will be 30,000 euros. This does not mean that the project cost could not be higher than 60,000 euros. But of course, if you are proposing a project that costs more than 60,000 euros, we still be granting a maximum of 30,000 euros. Projects are also admitting, financing is also admitting pre-financing of 40% of the grant. So the maximum would be the 40% of 30,000 euro if your project costs 60,000 euros or more. And we are granting it at the beginning of the implementation period of your project. So after the proposal evaluation, we will accept proposal, as I said, from the 28th of January on our online platform that will be available and accessible from a secure website. And you will go through a process that I'm not going to show you today because it would take too much time, but just to let you know that after the call period, so until the 29th of March, there will be for applicants the evaluation phases, which will last in more or less 4 or 5 months, and then there will be the grant agreement, the sub-grant agreement signed for the ones who will pass the eligibility and technical checks. And then the project could start, and you will have 6 months to implement your project. There are a few eligibility criteria. There are some company eligibility criteria. As I said, the company should be a micro, small, or medium enterprise based in Europe, in European Union or European Economic Area, and the applicant should be an individual entity, should meet also ethical and legal requirements, and there should be absence of double funding for the proposed project. On the second hand, there will be also some CRA related criteria. Of course, applicants must operate in a sector or have a business activity that falls within the CRA scope and regulatory framework. We have also an annex which specifies which will be the eligible activities to get finance. So only projects aimed at achieving compliance with CRA will be accepted. You will find all this information on our website and on the call guideline document, and we are also updating the frequently asked questions. Since yesterday we had our first info day for our call, there will be another one later on February, and we are answering directly to questions and also from our website through the frequently asked questions section. There are also other channels to reach us, emails, newsletters, and to stay in touch with our events, please refer again to our official website. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. That's great. So you can see there's plenty of information there for you to access. And as Alessandro said, they had their information day yesterday. Alessandro, is that recorded? Will it be available online, the info day?
Yeah, we are working on it. I think maybe not the whole info day, but just some key points. But of course, we are going to share the recording.
Okay, great. Thank you. So first of all, I wondered if there were any questions to any of our speakers from the audience. Any hands? No? So I think the important thing is to say that you've just heard Alessandro talking about funding, which is available for SMEs to basically try to become compliant. The projects that you've heard here in these tools are free. And you can even apply for funding from Secure to use the tools as well. So the tools presented here are included in the first open call which Alessandro was describing. So all of the projects are working together. You know, you see 5 different consortia, 5 different logos. That can be, you know, what are they all doing kind of question. But they all of the projects are all working together. And this collaboration means that within the Secure open call, you can actually apply for money to use one of these tools that you include it in your application. All of the projects are also working together in working groups to make sure that the tools are linked together and interoperable where possible over the next year. So, but the important thing I think to say is that, you know, I think everybody on the panel, including myself, are extremely keen to hear from you. I'm extremely keen, for example, as James said, to hear about the challenges SMEs have and to invite companies to come and use these tools. You know, they're being set up and they're free. I think somebody mentioned the word pilot. Was it you, Aziz? He's wanting people to apply to join a pilot. So it's basically free support by cybersecurity experts on how to become compliant for the Cyber Resilience Act. So it's a great opportunity. So grab these people in the break and ask them questions. Yeah, please do get involved. So I'll close now.
So once again, my name is Bruno Vanelli, and in my current capacity at this very moment, I am a co-rapporteur with my dear colleague and friend, Mr. Luka Perkov from Sartura, for, as we said, routers, modems intended for connection to the internet, and switches. So in these 20 minutes, I will give you a brief introduction of what this vertical actually comprises of, what were the background and motivation, how it actually looks, and what can you expect from it. So this document will provide security requirements and assessment criteria covering all elements defined in the CRA Annex 1, Part 1 and Part 2 for, as previously said, routers, modems intended for the connection to the internet and switches, excluding such equipment used in the industrial OT domain as mentioned in the CRA Annex 3 Class 1 important products. This work item intends to produce an EN as candidate for harmonization under the standardization request in support of the implementation of the CRA itself, and it will be a multi-part standard accommodating multiple products variants across market segment. Now, of course, in each and every of these verticals, scope is of the essence and of utmost importance, so people would understand what it actually covers and does their product actually falls under a particular vertical. So requirements in this document implement a risk-based approach through conditional applicability to ensure security measures proportionate to deployment context and threat exposure. The requirements apply to all deployment forms of routers, modems, and switches when used for their intended purposes of establishing and managing network connectivity, including standalone physical appliances, integrated multifunction products, virtualized network functions, and software-defined network implementations. Of course, we are going to give a high-level explanation of the scope, where routers, modems, and switches are de facto a core component of literally any existing system. As you know, we in Croatia employed fiscalization 2.0, so virtually any business in Republic of Croatia as of this moment cannot really function without connectivity to the internet. Can you imagine any company that has more than 2 computers without any ability to share data or whatever it is needed? So these devices actually present a core component of any modern system. So that being said, it is of paramount importance that standards cover all particularities to prevent and mitigate ever-rising cybersecurity threats. These kind of threats and vulnerabilities are usually highly sophisticated and are generally difficult to detect, especially on customers' premise. In next few slides, we will go in routers, modems that are connected to the internet, and switches in a little bit more details. So the routers have been defined as the devices that operate at a network layer, layer 3 of the OSI model, to establish and control data flow between different IP-based networks through various path selection mechanisms. These products implement routing protocols and algorithms to determine optimal paths for packet forwarding across network boundaries, with their fundamental role being the interconnection of distinct network segments. And of course, modern routers incorporate extensive functionality beyond the basic routing capabilities, including advanced routing protocol support and granular traffic management suitable for complex network topologies and high-volume traffic scenarios. Modems that are intended for connection to the internet, and of course keep in mind that modem is any device that modulates and demodulates signal, so you could imagine a modem that is not intended for connection to the internet. So these devices serve as the interface between private and public networks, employing digital modulation and demodulation techniques to enable IP-based communication over various physical medias. And these hardware products convert digital signals from network equipment into various formats that are suitable for transmission over specific carrier technologies. And then we have different options and possibilities here, ranging from DOCSIS, DSL technology, or fiber optics cable, or similar things, of course, including the cellular networks that we all use on a daily basis. And finally, switches, which provide connectivity between network products within local network segments, employing packet forwarding mechanisms to efficiently direct traffic between connected endpoints. And distinguished by their management plane capabilities, these products primarily operate, as we define them in this vertical, on the layer 2 of the OSI model, while increasingly incorporate network layer functionality in multi-layer implementation. Now, it was of essence to pinpoint the core functionality, and you will see this through the outer verticals when the colleagues will present them. So in this particular case, contemporary devices incorporate dozens of components covered by verticals, and you can easily say that there is no more simple devices. This has proven to be one of the first challenges, as multiple approaches and perspectives had to be taken into consideration, and based on the current level of maturity, the milestones seem to be consensually accepted by the community participating in the verticals. As you all know, at least those of you who are engaged in the computer network segment, you know, a lot of things are being advertised. Devices no longer have a really strict and specific roles. So, you know, you are selling a switch, although it possesses layer 3 routing capabilities with hardware offloading, etc., etc. So it is crucial for the manufacturers, so for the vendors of these devices, as well as for the distributors and the importers, if these devices do not originate from mostly regulated markets that will have to strictly abide to these kind of rules to actually pinpoint what is the core functionality of the product that they're actually either manufacturing or selling. So what is the approach? We'll go shortly through this because you will see it in much more details when there will be a, let's call it a deep dive session afterwards when we go into the breakout rooms. And additionally, all these presentations, as well as I said in the beginning, will be uploaded to the CyberStand website, so you will be able to access them afterwards. So let's say that you have a capability that's a technical feature which is present in the product. There is a certain condition. So let's say that management API is exposed to the internet. Then you have a threat, which in this case means that attack is enabled in that condition. A certain form of risk, which is a qualitative judgment of likelihood and impact anchored to the threat, and of course requirement from CRA Annex 1 derived control. So the conditional assessment, which is actually manufacturer deliverable, says that manufacturer shall declare which conditions may apply. So they can be applicable by default, applicable by configuration, or not applicable at all. And that's a part of technical documentation of a product. As you could have seen at Felipe's presentation, you know, there's a CE mark, and now this CE mark presents much more than it used to present this year, or that it will present next year when this will come in force. Of course, if you have undeclared or misdeclared condition, this basically means that you have a non-compliance, which a conformity assessment body can verify, and products can meet multiple conditions simultaneously. Of course, capabilities via condition-triggered requirements. I will skip this one because it's not relevant for this particular talk. So we can talk about some examples of these conditions. Let's say that the network exposure can range from physical-only management to public internet exposure. Then you have a management model that goes from standalone versus centralized management platforms, all the way where all of these products can meet multiple conditions simultaneously. So it means that a product, when you judge it from the vertical, can become as complex as you actually provide it to the end user on the market. There is a certain path from capability to requirement, since the CRA asks for an appropriate level of cybersecurity based on the risks, and this Vertical 27 implements this by conditional applicability through the complete chain. So if the capability exists in a product, it creates potential condition under foreseeable use. Condition enables specific threat, and standard has been pre-assessed. Standard has pre-assessed the risk, and risk justified requirements where mandatory measures are triggered by the condition. Why is this important? Because since this there is an intention that this becomes a harmonized standard. This leaves absolutely no space for any emotional interpretation, for any bias in the interpretation. The purpose of the standard, the purpose of the norm, because ladies from the Croatian standardization body are watching me, you know, with that bad eye, because we say norm in Croatia, and that's fine. I will teach that later. The fact is, there has to be no place for ambiguity. So the idea behind all these verticals is that once they need to be evaluated by the third party, that third party can be completely independent and can work under the presumption that everything that needs to be evaluated must be, so the verdict must be reached anonymously and without any, you know, chance for biasness or ambiguity in any case. Benefits of this approach for the manufacturers is the fact that, as I've said, the requirements are clear and they are based on the product capabilities they control, no subjectiveness risk, and predictable compliance path. Of course, we had to think about cabs as well, so they can, you know, use a sort of a binary testing. So the capability is present, I need to apply the requirement. No interpretation and reproducibility of that assessment. So the idea is that the assessment is idempotent, so no matter how many times you repeat it, it should always produce the same outcome. Benefits of the approach for the market surveillance is enforceable standards, which is of course harmonized across the European Union, and clear non-compliance criteria. Okay, this is also irrelevant for you. So what is important, and one of the purpose of these kind of events is to bring the broader and general audience to understanding that there is an opportunity for a public review, there is an opportunity for public commenting, there is an opportunity for engagement. I cannot stress this enough, that opportunity for engagement and participation must be clear, must be with the purpose, and must have a useful way of, you know, placing the comment in the commenting table so it could actually be evaluated and it could actually be beneficial to the broad audience. So writing in the commenting section that you simply don't like something is not a very useful comment and will usually just be acknowledged and skipped. So for that reason, it also increases the quality of general discourse between the bodies that actually bring these standards to living and to the general publicity that is actually utilizing them. Okay, what I wanted to wrap up with is the conclusion and what follows. So at the moment we have version 11 that is available on the Etsy portal, which everybody can download and review. Of course, we are continuing to align it with CRA requirements, and of course we have respected all the stakeholders' engagement through the established commenting process, and the established commenting process is the one from Etsy, which had proven to be very sane, very specific, and not subjected to any ambiguity. And that being said, it allowed us as rapporteurs to, you know, make it tidy, to not miss anything, and to try to bring each and every of these comments to the discussion and the consensual agreement with the internal groups that were participating in this particular vertical. That being said, I'm wrapping up this presentation since we still have a few minutes left. There may be some questions that anybody would like to ask. I could ask my lovely hostess to assist me, but I could have done it myself, Federica. Thank you so much. So Do we have any questions from the audience? You were shy in the first part. You don't have to be shy in the second part. Plus, you will get lunch afterwards. So, you know, maybe we could work out something with that. You know, one comment, everybody gets the lunch. No comments, maybe no lunch. You know,
no martini, no party.
Exactly. I'm joking a little bit, but please. Okay, we have a lady there. Oh, no, it's a gentleman.
Oh,
Excuse me.
Daniel.
Yes,
Hi,
yes,
nice to
yes.
meet you. Another rapporteur. I'm joking. Yes, of course.
Hi, thank you for the wonderful presentation. I have a burning question that I always wish I had more guidance on. And let's say I have a router that has a website to configure the router. Is that website part of the product?
Of course, your website is part of the product, but essentially, are you selling a router or an HTTP server? If the HTTP server is simply a part of your final product, and I don't think that we have a vertical for HTTP servers, then you don't have to be particularly stressed about it. What you do need to be stressed about is the fact that, oh, is it working? Yeah, it is working. If we have, and this is actually a really good question, and I'm stuck on the worst possible slide that I could have been stuck. Okay, well, we got it. I think we mentioned it here, okay? No, or it was here, or it was probably somewhere here. So, okay, yeah, we have the management API exposed to the internet, which is in essence your configuration website. Fine, it's HTTP request, regardless of the fact, are we going to get some visuals or are we going to get the API? And this is covered. So yeah, you really do have to take into consideration the security for any way you are trying to configure it, whether it's a serial console, whether it's an SSH, whether it's TFTP, or is it HTTP. So if that part of functionality covers the management API, then yes, it is very, very important. And unless you provide as a fact in your technical documentation that these kind of things are covered, you might end up with a non-compliance. So you all get lunch, as you can see. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Bruno. Any other questions from the audience? Yes, please.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a hypothetical question. Not so hypothetical. Let's say I'm in the office. I want to buy a new router for my office. And how and where I can check if the product is CRA compliant? I'm not satisfied if I open their website and I see a CE marking. It's an image. You can put it everywhere.
Sure.
And I don't see, I read standards up to now and those drafts. I don't see any notion on mentioning where you can find those documents.
Let me tell you
Or
like this,
check
the story goes the other way around. This device, you shouldn't be in a position to be able to buy that device in case that it's not compliant. And I understand your follow-up. I understand your follow-up question. You don't know, right? Because either it's a self-assessment or the Croatian vendor decided to fake his reports. This is why we have market surveillance authorities. This is why we have various different bodies that will be established where you can report these kind of things and check with them whether that compliance suits. But I can divert back to the standard CE mark. I'm not sure that you as an end user, but maybe as an importer potentially, yes, are you eligible in getting the test reports for the CE marking? Are you eligible in getting the reports that the electricity in the device has been tested well enough in order for your office not to burn? So it will be pretty much, I suppose, pretty much the same thing here, where, you know, you will need to comply. In case that you doubt in a non-compliance, you can raise your doubt to the national body. There is an ENDO portal which will list all the national bodies that will take care in an appropriate EU country for the particular device. However, I must admit that I am not so well endowed in the legal part, so I don't know what will be the repercussions or how fast will they come in force. But maybe this is one of the good frequently asked questions that we can, wrap up from this summit and then publish it somewhere, because it is a valuable question, it is a reasonable question, and we can make further inquiries for these kind of specific things to see how they will actually unroll.
Hello. Okay, yeah. I can use tech. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see the digital product passport taking on this role, and that is coming soon, trademark. It's actively in development, and I can't foresee any other system or opportunity to do this in a way that exists outside of the manufacturer's control. Because, as our host said, it is really a self-confirmation, a declaration of conformity. And that signature on that piece of paperwork has to be available to you. Thank you.
Okay, any other question from the audience? Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Alica Glavaš from Croatian Standards Institute. I don't have a question. I just, could you please go back to slide 13?
Oof. Okay, but that's an oddly specific slide. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's in it. If it's bad, I'll just, we don't have 13, we have only 14. Okay.
But don't be afraid.
Okay, thank you.
I just want, I don't have a question, I have just one statement, very important. Just to read out loud this sentence. Standard has pre-assessed the risk.
Okay.
So I just want to call you to participate in Croatian Standards Institute, because because in that way you can participate in a creation of standards. So it's
and an anticipation of a risk, because things in these standards are based on the human experience and in the foreseeable way which we can expect that the malicious actor might act against your router, modem, or switch, or browser, or password manager, or operating system, or boot manager, or whatever is covered by the verticals. But this is very important, so participation is of essence. So 11 people are always more intelligent than 10 people. Or we have a better saying in Croatia, a donkey and a person are more intelligent than a person itself. So, do not hesitate to participate when the right time will come, through the national bodies or through any other means that are available to you. Thank you.
And this is what Felipe said from the European Commission. He said, if you've got a product, and just linking up, sorry, I didn't catch the name of the lady at the front, but if you've got a product where you want to pre-assess the risk, then you can take it to the Standards Forum. And there are a lot of places where you can get funding. There's a number of projects, not just CyberStand, but also Stand ICT, which is specifically geared towards helping SMEs get involved with standards activities. So you're not working for free. You can have your effort paid and be attending meetings. You can have your membership fees covered, so it's not out your own pocket. So there's everything set up to help a company to be able to attend a meeting and to create your own standard around a specific risk.
Any other question from the audience? Okay, so just to a little to wrap up what Nick just said, this is the first stop of this CRA Standards Unlocked EU tour, and the aim of this tour is to get closer to potential stakeholders. So we know there are a lot of events in Brussels, in the main, European cities, but we really want to get to know you, to get in touch with you, to hear from you. So this is why the Commission explicitly asked us to you know, basically set up these kind of activities, because we want especially SMEs to be able to get in touch with us. And this is, I think this is like, it's going to be a very interesting adventure, because we really care about you and about your thoughts. We really want to hear your feedback. We are a task force. We are working on different topics and from different nationalities, from different funded projects. But we want the real users. We want the SMEs who will be actually using the standards to raise their hands and tell us, this is good, this is not enough, we need more, okay? So please join the conversation. This is the right place to do so. You will have our email addresses and whatever, so you can contact us even after the events will take place. But please come and talk to us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bruno, for your presentation. And now it's Ivan's turn on Smart Card. Thank you very much, Ivan, for your participating in this event. And the floor is yours.
And now the end is near. Bad habit every time I have a microphone, guys. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. For me, it's kind of a special and equally weird situation. I used to study in this city. And it's like imagining that I will be having something like this 20 or even more years ago. It was like, no, this is not going to happen. And it's even more strange for me because I'm speaking English in the town among the audience that is predominantly Croatian. And I believe we have one native speaker in the room. It's you, Daniel. Or no. There are probably two. Okay. Good, guys. So I will give my best. I will probably need this little thing to switch on off. Okay. Here we go. Let's start with something a little bit different. How many of you have biometric passport? Biometric ID. Credit cards, probably almost everybody. How many of you are using mobile payment? Apple Pay? Okay. So you actually need to be a little bit, maybe not concerned, but you need to be asking yourself, are all of these things that I'm doing with this little, I will call them computers, are they secure? It's like, is this good enough to protect my information, and the information is directly related to your digital identity and money? So it's probably a little bit more sensitive than a Facebook data or, people today use Instagram or something like that. Okay, so what do we talk about? Let's go a little bit into the dry context. The secure elements are precisely the elements in these devices that are protecting your information. They have two parts. One part is the chip, and another part is the application on the chip. There are people working with me on that. By the way, I swore that in this year I will not wear a suit. So this is a rare occasion where you see me in a suit there. And these people are, I think, recognized experts in that field for many, many years. It's a privilege and pleasure to work with them. Where is this standard by now? The standard actually just entered, or is about these days to enter the public inquiry, meaning each of you who is participating in standardization bodies has the ability to dissect it, comment it, like it, dislike it, and even more so to give a constructive proposition to do something more clever than what we have done by now. Yes, this one will be the harmonized standard, and this is a standard, by the way, in a critical category, which we only have 3 standards there for critical category. This is one of them, so very important one. And people tend to think, okay, this Cyber Resilience Act, this is just voluntary thing. No, wrong. You really need to do it. because Cyber Resilience Act and Cyber Resilience Act compliance, it's not an optional thing. There was a good question before, where do I see whether it is really compliant or not? So the DPP, the product passport, is actually one of the good things. CE mark, it can be faked, but you can actually get the record in the European Commission whether the product is certified or not. Basically, it means stop sales for people that have commercial background here. You don't have it, you don't sell things in Europe, period. Okay, so there are 4 the application on a secure element, so the little thing that is protecting your money and identity. There are 3 ways how the manufacturer of these applications can achieve this compliance. The first one is respect this standard. Okay. The second one, do the European common criteria for this application precisely. The third one is figure it by yourself. Either of these 3 ways or are equal in the eyes of the Commission. They are not equal in the effort. The first one is probably, I would say, lowest effort. Of course, I need to advertise for the things that we have done. Whoever went any time through the common criteria knows how much effort this can be. And if you are doing it by yourself, you need to actually combine the 1 and 2. There is also a gap. One thing that actually people would not know. People would say, okay, the common criteria and the standard security evaluation and certification, this is actually so strong, it's much stronger than the Cyber Resilience Act. Yeah, it's going deeper, but Cyber Resilience Act is much wider. It's not a trivial thing. You actually have a gap to fulfill. If you go from your product, from your certification, you do the CC stuff, not enough. The level, now I'm already introducing some funny lingo here, the AVAVAN.5, the scary stuff. We will talk about this more in the afternoon session. What to evaluate? Okay, now we are talking a little bit about the architecture. Okay, so this architecture, what you see here, this is basically a secure element. You see it now in a little bit more granularity. There is a chip, there is operating system on the chip, and there are applications. Spoiler, there can be more applications. I will go in that depth. Where are they? We already mentioned that. Okay? And be really cautious about a smartphone. I think that this secure element, it's your line of defense, not only versus the adversaries, but also versus manufacturers of these devices. In the smart card, that's a traditional way how the secure elements actually started to evolve. Then in the devices, this is now more and more popular because many manufacturers are actually seeing that you have to protect the digital assets that are critical for your device. Okay, so that's a little bit about, we will go deeper in the architecture. Some hints about the methodology that we have adopted among the reporters. Some time ago in Amsterdam, I think it's already way too long ago. We actually are looking into 2 things. We are looking into intended purpose and also the foreseeable use of the things. So the intended purpose of the secure element, it's listed here. I don't need to read it. And you would actually see that, let's say some, but not all of the use cases, these are actually important. There is also a list. We already mentioned some of them. We don't have to go into the details here. But the more important is actually connecting these things. So the secure element has some generic functionalities. Okay? And then there are some use cases, and in the logical access control use cases, you have the functions that you can actually fulfill. And then each of these things is actually doing something in each and every step of the application. Couple of words about the system. So it's also not so that if you have one secure element on you, that this is just an isolated thing. It's actually getting very, very complicated because you have to sometimes make them either to collaborate or even to communicate between each other. So yes, these little computers are so small, but probably it's the high-end engineering that you need to put in order to make them work properly. Couple of things about the architecture. Already said that there's a platform, there is application, and there are two separate standards under the CRA for this. I'm for the one on top. The first most simple architecture, we have it here. Think very easy to understand. Let's take this a little bit more complicated. You could actually have operating system on the chip. A little bit more complicated, you would put from time to time more applications on it, and then you need to separate them with the firewalls. You can even actually make it more complicated. You could put one application that is mimicking another operating system, and so on and so on. Can get actually rather difficult. There are things that are not in that standard, fortunately. So, for example, there are smart cards or cards that you're also using every day. Now, I'm not sure, I haven't been in Zagreb for such a long time. You guys, I don't know, do you have some cards for public transport? Okay, so in some cities in the world, these cards are not having even personal data. They're really just calculating fares, okay? They don't have to be so strongly protected. So why should we put them under the Cyber Resilience Act and examine them like they would protect money? I mean, they do, but usually this is like, let's say, €10, maximum €200 or whatever if you're having annual ticket and so on. We are not putting this in. The next thing that we are also not putting in for now, so we call them application-specific cards, and it's really difficult because, you know, the word smart card got into the heads of the people, and now we have a need after the child was born years and years ago to give it two names. So I believe this will not work, but formally in a standard we need to distinguish between these two categories. Secure elements and applications that are really in a secure side, and the other ones that are just application specific. Also, what we are not having in the standard for now, it's so-called integrated secure element, and there's also a construct called trusted execution environment. I will not go into the details there. There are simply the ways how architecture of the software is done in a trusted execution environment, and this is standard as under global platform. And also integrated secure element is just like you would take this chip from the smart card with the application, and you would hammer it into the main processor of, let's say, smartphone or whatever. Okay. Now, this was a little bit dry, and I do promise in the afternoon session I will probably try to commit cognitive murder on everybody who will participate, because there is a lot of dry matter below that. It's really not easy to go through that. Something more funny, the life cycle. And I think this is pretty much applicable on all of the cyber resilience standards. Because one important thing to understand, it's not really so about how hackable or not your product is. This is what you can do with a security evaluation. It's more about how consistent are you over the entire life cycle with your security practices. Okay, so these two things are kind of orthogonal. You can make it unhackable at, let's say, delivery time, launch time, introduction into market time. That's obligation as well here. But you also have to make sure that entire life cycle, that you are attentive to anything what the product is doing. So typically you would assess risks in the design and develop phase. You would then go into the select applicable ESRs, so security requirements. Implement them, set up vulnerability handling process. This might be even more painful to many vendors, to many manufacturers, than actually designing a good product. Then we go into the SBOM manuals and so on, clear requirements, and then we go into the CRA assessment and CE mark. I think this is also partial answer to what you have said. CE mark I mean, you can fake almost everything these days. But there is a traceability, how you can actually check whether the product is assessed. And if it has security evaluation, you will also have the access to what precisely has been assessed. And then you need to take care of this product across the entire life cycle, continuously. So let's make no mistake, the products will cost more. Okay, so there is no, I don't know how to compensate this into the bill of materials and cost of the goods sold for any product that is under the CRA rigor. But there's a value in it, it's more secure. So you'll probably have the opportunity to save it on all of the practices that were over expensive. And if some security issue happens down the line, think about the costs then. So this is more like prevention. Okay, that's I think everything what we have for now. The rest of the standard will be then explained in a session in the afternoon. As it is happening right after the lunch, we will probably do some physical exercises in order to warm up. Okay, thank you. Questions? Oh, thanks.